Enjoy your meeting. Just a reminder, today's meeting is being recorded.
Okay, we will get started. Hi everyone, welcome to today's webinar. Today our webinar topic is going to be 10 ways to make file transfers easier, automated, and secure. Bob Libby from Linoma Software is going to be presenting. He is the Chief Architect there. And with that, I will let Bob take it away. Please note that you should all be muting your cell phones or phones, whatever you are on. At the end, we will have 10 minutes for a Q&A. You can all post your questions in here either at the end or throughout the webinar. And with that, I will let you get started, Bob.
All right. Well, great. Well, thanks for inviting me today. My name is Bob Libby, and I am, again, the Chief Architect for Linoma. I've been in the IT field for over 30 years and have spent the last decade in designing and developing encryption and secure file transfer technologies for various corporations as well as Linoma. I'm a certified information system security professional, and so I also consult with organizations on how to protect their sensitive data assets and achieve regulatory compliance. So we have a very full agenda today. We're going to start off talking about the challenges that many organizations are facing with their enterprise file transfers. Traditional tools and homegrown scripts are simply no longer viable options for keeping up with the latest business demands and security requirements. During the webinar, I'll explain what managed file transfer is, otherwise called MFT, and why it's becoming so popular for IT departments. And I'll also explain the main benefits of MFT and what features you should look for if you're going to try to find a solution from potential vendors. I'll then give a live demonstration of our GoAnywhere MFT solution and explain how it can help you in 10 different ways as listed below, mainly focusing on how it can help eliminate scripts, how it can protect your file transfers using secure protocols, how to use compression, how to transform data between your databases in various formats. Also guaranteeing delivery of your transmissions is becoming very important, sending alerts on failures, and so on. So we got a long agenda here to cover. We'll get it all done in 45 to 50 minutes though, and so that way we'll have plenty of time to answer any questions that you may have. So let me just share a quick background on Linoma Software. We're based in Nebraska. We've been in business for over 22 years. We have no debt or outside investors, and we've made Inc. 5000's list as one of the fastest growing private companies for the last 3 years in a row. Our R&D team is constantly improving our products, which is primarily based on valuable feedback from our customers. With over 3,000 customers around the world, we are proud to achieve an almost 99% retention rate of those customers, which we believe is a testament to the excellent products and service that we provide. We have partnerships with all the major operating system providers like IBM, Microsoft, and Red Hat, which allows us to gain access to their latest releases and technical resources for testing and support. And the great thing about our MFT solution is that it's truly multi-platform. For instance, you could start off by running on Windows or an IBM platform today, but if your needs change in the future, the flexibility is there to transfer the license to another server like Linux. And it is an on-premise solution, so you do install it on the operating system of your choice. As a member of the PCI Security Council, we keep up to date with the latest standards and make sure our products stay compliant with those latest standards. All right, so let's start talking a little bit about some challenges that a lot of companies are facing today. Unfortunately, a lot of IT departments are still using older technology such as FTP scripts and legacy tools to transmit files. And this can be a very time-consuming process. Often you have to get a programmer to configure the transfers and track down any problems. And as you add more and more trading partners, it can quickly eat up a lot of time in your IT group and to keep everything running smoothly. Also, a lot of companies do not have good error alerts when transfers fail. Some have to wait for their trading partner to call to indicate that they did not receive the file. And also missing is detailed audit logging that you need to meet compliance requirements like PCI DSS or HIPAA. For instance, can you quickly find out which files were sent from your company over the last day, week, or month? Those are the sorts of things that auditors often look for. And to add to these challenges, many end users are still sending files through unsecured email or cloud services like Dropbox without any kinds of controls or audit trails or centralized management. Just a little bit about PC tools. There's still a lot of companies using PC-based tools to transfer files. And since this is often a manual process, it's prone to human error and risk. So what if the user downloads or uploads the wrong file to your trading partner? Or what if the file contains sensitive data and the user forgot to encrypt it before the transmission? And I think another big problem is, who's going to run that file transfer when that user is gone for the day? How are you going to make sure that those are completed at the proper times? And so these are all big issues that need to be addressed when you're thinking about using PC tools. And also you're jeopardizing your sensitive data by downloading it from a secure corporate server to a less secure PC or laptop. So it's going to be a lot more vulnerable to attacks. And there's just no logs of when the files are sent generally from those PC tools. And auditors really don't have any idea what sensitive files are leaving the network when PC tools are involved. So it's really getting to be a problem. The file transfers really should be run from corporate servers on an automated basis instead of relying on your end users to complete those transmissions. All right, so FTP scripts. Well, in order to automate file transfers, a lot of companies have built their own FTP scripts on their corporate systems. But unfortunately, a lot of these scripts have downfalls. For instance, FTP scripts can only be written by a programmer. And as you know, programmers are a very expensive resource and they're very busy. And so every time something changes for the trading partner, such as a new IP address or password change or a different file name, you now have to get another programmer to get involved to make those changes. And those costs can really add up over time and distract those programmers from other projects. And a big problem with scripts is that your trading partner's passwords are stored right in the clear. So if an attacker gained access to your scripts, they can clearly see not only the IP to connect out to your trading partners, but also the user and password to connect out to the system. So it's a big vulnerability. And many scripts are very basic in nature. They weren't programmed to have advanced file transfer capabilities. Like there's oftentimes no auto retry built into scripts. There's no good alerting or audit trails. And so that's why a lot of companies are looking to move away from scripts to a more managed and structured solution. So let's talk about managed file transfer. This is a very popular subject right now, especially for companies that need to move files around, especially sensitive files. So managed file transfer covers both batch-oriented and ad hoc type file transfers. And so it's going to allow you to control and secure all of your file transfers through a centralized framework. And it gives you automation for your batch transfers as well as protecting that data with strong encryption. And then it's going to provide auditing for not only your batch transfers, but for any ad hoc file transfers as well when your users are sharing files with each other. So what should you look for when you're looking for an MFT solution? So number one, we believe you should make sure it's very easy to use for both your IT department and your end users. You should be able to set up new transfers in a matter of minutes, not hours. And no programming or special skills should be required. If it's too difficult to use, it won't be accepted by your IT people and those end users. You also should make sure that the MFT solution has centralized controls. It should run natively on one of your servers and be accessed by only authorized administrators. And there should be good security on that MFT solution so you can precisely control what users can connect to which servers and perform just certain file transfer functions. And we believe auditing and alerts are very critical to a good MFT solution, you should immediately know when transfers fail and should be able to quickly report on any transfer activity for a given user, date range, or file name, which is very important for compliance requirements. So that kind of leads us into our MFT solution. With GoAnywhere, we believe that is the best enterprise MFT solution available. Here's a diagram that gives you a quick top-down view of its capabilities. It can be installed on most any operating system, and all administration can be performed right through the browser. So you do not have to install anything onto your desktop to do any work within the product. Within GoAnywhere, you can set up your trading partners. You'll be able to look at audit information, set up your scheduled transfers, and so on, all through that browser interface. Down below here in the blue box, you'll notice all the different types of systems that you'll be able to connect in through the product. So if you need to connect in through, for instance, FTP and secure FTP servers, it can connect out to your internal file systems as well as Amazon and web DAV services. You can set up connections to AS2 servers as well as web services to push and pull information. You can also connect up to your back-end databases. For instance, you may need to extract some information from a database table, and we can convert that data to different formats. It can read and write XML files, CSV, fixed with text, and Excel documents. It can not only write out to those formats, but it can also parse out those documents that you may have pulled from your trading partners, and it can import those into your database systems. Really, any kind of SQL can be run as a managed file transfer process. You could have it call stored procedures, do inserts, updates, deletes, and so on, right through a central workflow. GoAnywhere can also call out your existing applications and scripts. Perhaps after a file has been transferred, you'd like to call out a script to do additional processing on the file. And then finally, GoAnywhere can send out information through email, which traditionally is not too good an idea, especially if you're sending sensitive information. So we can do the traditional approach, but again, if it's confidential information, we can actually strip the attachment and instead send a secure HTTPS link to your trading partner, and they could just simply then click on that link to come in through HTTPS to gain access to the file. So we call that our secure mail component within GoAnywhere. So once you've defined all of your different connectors that you'd like to use to connect out to your trading partners, then you can set up multi-step workflows in GoAnywhere to go out to those servers and push and pull files on an automated basis. As part of that, it can encrypt and decrypt files. We support the Open PGP standard, which supports public key encryption. It can also verify digital signatures, and as well as sign files with your own digital signatures. They can compress and decompress files. We support the ZIP 2.0, the gzip, and the TAR standard for packaging and unpackaging files. It does have its own built-in scheduler. It's a very sophisticated scheduler, so if you'd like to run transfers every minute or every hour, you can pick days of the week or days of the month or certain times throughout the week. It's all very flexible. You can set up your own custom holiday calendars, so it can skip certain days of the year that might be your corporate holidays or run the day before or after those holidays. But we also have commands that come with GoAnywhere that let you launch these transfers from your own application. So if you'd rather use your own scheduler or your own scripts to kick off these jobs in GoAnywhere, these commands come with the product at no additional charge, and they're available for Windows, Linux, Unix, IBM systems, as well as we have APIs for Java and .NET that you can make requests to GoAnywhere from. So that's the workflow batch file transfer automation. Now on the flip side, you could also let your trading partners connect to you to upload and download files. And GoAnywhere has the built-in user management, so you can set up user accounts and passwords. You can indicate what folders they have access to, what IPs they're allowed to log in from. Those accounts can be authenticated against Active Directory or LDAP. We also support SAML for two-factor authentication, like if you want to use, let's say, RSA Secure ID with a token to authenticate your external parties. You can set triggers in the product, so as soon as files are uploaded to you, they can automatically be processed. So, for instance, maybe you have a trading partner that uploads an encrypted file to your system. You could automatically call out a workflow to automatically decrypt that file with PGP. The trading partners can not only connect in through SFTP or FTPS, but they could also come in right to their browser to upload and download files. So you just send them to a portal on your site, and that would go into the GoAnywhere HTTPS server, and when they log in, they can upload, download files right through a nice HTML5-based interface, and only be able to work with those folders that you've authorized them to. Now, all the activity is audited in the product, so no matter if it's inbound or outbound, file transfers, ad hoc or batch, it's all going into a central database. So if you do need to generate audit reports from that information, you can just go to one place. Let's say an auditor would like to know a particular file that was transferred or a particular user or a date range. You can just key that in right into our screens, and it will automatically generate those reports either on screen, or you can have those automatically distributed to you on an automated basis as needed. So it does have very comprehensive auditing built in to help you meet those compliance requirements. All right, let's move on to the next slide here. Again, the product can run on a lot of different platforms. Once you get it installed, there's no programming or scripting required to set up any of the transfers. So you never have to get a programmer involved to set up the transfers. You just go through our graphical screens. I'll give you some examples of those screens in a little bit. You just point to where you'd like to pull the file from, what kind of work you'd like to do with the file. Maybe you need to encrypt or zip it, and then where you'd like to distribute it out to. That's just all through a point-and-click interface. We do support large files. There's no limit to how large files can be. We do support auto-resume. So if the connection breaks in the middle of the transmission, it can reconnect and just send the remaining bytes of that file or group of files. Just a couple things to point out on the next slide is we have a gateway component that you can put out in your DMZ. The advantage of that is your trading partners can connect into the SFTP or HTTPS server in GoAnywhere, but you don't have to open up any inbound ports into your private network, because you're going to have your gateway out there acting as a reverse proxy in your DMZ area. And a lot of shops will typically put their files out in their DMZ for their trading partners to pick up, but your DMZ area is your most vulnerable area of your network, most prone to attack. So a lot of companies are looking to put those files into the private network. With the gateway, you don't have to store any files in your DMZ. All those files can stay safe and sound in that private network area. You can also protect files at rest as they're stored in certain targeted folders. So if you do have staging folders where files are landing and before they're accessed again, those could be automatically encrypted, and then when an authorized user application goes to access those files, we can automatically decrypt those with the AES-256 encryption. So it's completely transparent to the end user or the application. You can have multiple users in the product. Each user can have different levels of administrative rights. For instance, you can have one administrator that can only look at audit log detail, others that can set up new user accounts. You could have other administrators that could set up new scheduled jobs. So there's a lot of different levels. So I believe there's about 12 different roles they could assign to each individual user. GoAnywhere also has high availability, so you can set up a clustered environment with 2 or more systems. If one of those systems was to fail, the other systems could continue to process jobs. So it's automatic failover to other systems in the clustered environment. Also lets you load balance your transfers over multiple systems which is very important, especially if you have thousands of transfers going on throughout the day. Something to point out on this slide here is all the different protocols again that we support. Here's just the secure protocols on this slide. So you can pick and choose based on your trading partner's requirements. Within those protocols, you can use AES encryption up to 256-bit key. We do support two-factor authentication. Again, we talked about SAML briefly. We also support key-based authentication for your SFTP transfers. And you can use certificates to authenticate any kind of SSL type transfers via FTPS or HTTPS. And we have the key management tools built in to let you work with your keys and certificates right through our product. This is just a quick summary of all the different servers that we can connect up to the product. Every release we come out with even more servers that we support. And so that will just continue to grow over time. Essentially, GoAnywhere was designed to really let you connect up to really any system, either internally or externally, for a movement of information. Here's some examples of some workflows that you could perform. So for instance, you could define a workflow that would pull information from a database, translate it to, let's say, a CSV file, then it could encrypt it with PGP, and then send that out to an SFTP server. So that could be a single workflow that would perform all of those steps. Or let's say you already have the files prepared on a network server. They could grab those files, encrypt them or zip them, and then send those out. Maybe in this case you want to just place them on another file system or send them out to an FTP site. In this example here, it shows how perhaps maybe you're pulling files from an SFTP server. It could then pull in that file, decrypt it with PGP, and then import, or maybe read it as a CSV file, and then import that to a database. So all those steps could be defined in a single workflow as well. Okay. All right, this is just a quick screenshot of our dashboard. As I mentioned, our dashboard is a browser-based interface. You can customize the dashboard to fit your needs. There's about 24 different gadgets available to tell you what's going on in the system at any given time. For instance, what files are being transferred at the time, what's your top user accounts or trading partners, any kinds of problems going on in the system. And you can customize that as you need to on a per administrator basis. If you are running in a clustered environment, all of the clustered systems could be managed from a single browser interface. On this slide here, it kind of illustrates how you can set up your trading partners. So all of your trading partners can go into our database. Okay, so you can reuse those connections between one or more jobs. So for instance, when you're setting up, let's say, an SFTP connection, the basics like the user, password, its IP, any other kinds of information can be predefined in our database. And then in the future, if you want to connect out to, like in this case, the bank FTP server, you can just simply select that from a drop-down list. So if that bank's, let's say, IP changes or their user or password, instead of trying to remember all the different scripts that you use that in, you just simply have to make this one change on the resource, and then any projects or workflows that use that connection will automatically use those new settings the next time. You can see on the left side of the screen all the different resource types. So you just click on a resource, and then you'll be able to configure it. And there's no limit to the number of connections that you can define within our product. I know some of our competitors charge on a per trading partner basis. We allow unlimited trading partners through our product. Okay. On this screen, it shows our project designer. So the project is a workflow. It defines the multiple steps that you'd like to perform for that particular transfer. Now, you probably can't see it too clearly, but on the left side of the screen, it's kind of stepping you through this particular workflow. Towards the top, we're doing a retrieve where we're pulling some records from a database. We're then going to take those records from the database, build an Excel file from that. Then we're going to encrypt it with PGP, and then we're going to SFTP the files, and then we're going to send an email confirmation. So every step of the way, along the way, it's just going to be run in sequential order from top to bottom. You can add if-else logic. You can add loops. You can reroute control within your project. So you can get pretty sophisticated with your projects as you need to. But again, you don't have to be a programmer to do it. You just point and click. You can drag additional components up into the outline. There's about 60 different components that we support through the product that you can drag and drop onto the outline to perform. On this screen here, you'll be able to manage then all of your projects from a folder type structure. So you'll, now this is just an example of some projects that I've defined, but you could literally have hundreds of projects defined for all the different types of transfers that you need to perform. And then you can run those projects either interactively or schedule those, which I'll show you in a little bit. But each group of projects can be placed into different folders, so you can organize those by like customer or department and so on. A lot of folks need to do SFTP, so I want to make sure you understand all the SFTP capabilities that GoAnywhere has. As I mentioned, you can use keys to authenticate your SFTP connections, as well as user IDs and passwords. We do, again, support auto-resume. You can do wildcards, so if you need to pull multiple files. We can also auto-prefix and suffix file names. A lot of companies need to automatically put in timestamps in their file names, or certain dates, or maybe their own special concatenation of certain constants or variables. So you can, there's a lot of flexibility to let you change those file names as they're being transferred. On the next slide here, talks about our FTPS support. Now, a lot of companies are moving away from FTPS. It's FTP over SSL just because it does require a lot more ports than SFTP, and a lot of folks that run the firewalls don't like to see all those ports getting opened up. But we do have very extensive support for FTPS. So let's say if you do need to connect up to your mainframe's FTPS server as an example, we support both explicit and implicit FTPS, and we support the dual factor authentication using certificates and user passwords. And you probably know that some of the older versions of SSL, you don't want to use that any longer because it is vulnerable to certain attacks. So you can just choose the more modern TLS standards when you're authenticating and encrypting the data over FTPS. Open PGP. Some companies are using PGP, especially to exchange files with banks. That seems to be the biggest trading partner that uses PGP. PGP is a really neat form of encryption because it's a key. It uses a combination of public and private keys. So your trading partner would encrypt the file with your public key that you would send them beforehand. So you make sure you got your public key to them, and then they'll encrypt the file, send it to you, and then you can decrypt it with your corresponding private key. Or in turn, if you need to send them a file, they'll send you their public key beforehand. You'll use their public key to encrypt their file, and then when they receive the file, they'll decrypt it with the private key. The nice thing about this type of encryption is it doesn't matter who has your public key, because the public key is only used to encrypt the files. So you don't have to worry about someone decrypting the files with your public key. It's your private key that you want to keep secret on your system. You don't want to share that with anyone outside your company. So a lot of people are using Open PGP encryption along with Secure FTP to secure those files at rest as well as in transit. Just a little something on this screen here, like when you're defining a PGP type task, you can choose the source file, the target file, and then you'll specify the public key to use. We have a selector box where you can just hit the browse button and you'll be able to choose the key to use for the encryption process. You can also sign files with your private key. So what you would do, and this is a standard, the Open PGP standard, there's a lot of products support this. To sign the file, you would use your private key, and then you could still encrypt the file with your trading partner's public key. And then when they get the file, they can verify your signature with your public key, and then decrypt the file with their private key. So we're finding that more and more banks are starting to require digital signatures to help identify the true sender of the file, especially if they have a lot of files coming into their facilities. They want to make sure that they're all signed by their trading partners so they can differentiate those from other files. Okay. Other tasks that you can do in GoAnywhere is you can move files. We have MQ support, create directories, call native scripts, and so on. So there's a lot of different things you can do through GoAnywhere besides just moving files around. To run a project or a workflow in GoAnywhere, we have lots of different ways. Again, you could either immediately run the project from within the interface, which is nice for more of the ad hoc type transfers or for testing purposes. You could use our scheduler, or if you want to use our command line options, it shows the different types of languages we support, different platforms, and so on. So, and these commands, again, they're at no additional charge, so you can just install them on whatever systems need to launch transfers in GoAnywhere. And GoAnywhere is just sitting there listening for a request to come over the network. Your application will make that request. GoAnywhere will run the project that was requested, do whatever type of file transfer activity it needs to do, and then it will return a response back to your application to let it know if it was successful or not. With our scheduler, I had mentioned that you got a lot of different scheduling options. There's a screenshot from it. We do have auto retry built in. So if the scheduler is trying to run a file transfer job, and if there's a problem, it can just continue to try that job for a period of time. Now, if it still can't run the job successfully, it can automatically send you an email notice to one or more people with the job log attached, so you know exactly what the issue is. We talked about the commands a little bit already. When you are running projects from your own commands, you can pass in variables like file names, folder paths, maybe you want to pass in a key. So you don't have to create a lot of different projects in GoAnywhere for every single type of transfer that you do. Instead, you could create more generic types projects and then just pass in variables as you need to override those at runtime. Here, by the way, is an example of running some projects or workflows right from your applications. For instance, let's say you're on the Windows platform. You could run this command called GA command, which means GoAnywhere command. You'll tell it where GoAnywhere is installed on your network, and then you'll tell it the name of the project to run, and then you can pass in variables, like in this case the file and the folder path. Down below in this Linux example, we're passing in the vendor code and the status code. So again, you can pass in these variables to override the workflow as you need to, so you don't have to set up a lot of different projects for every single type of scenario. Every job's assigned its own tracking number called a job number, and it's going to verify the authority. It's going to push it through a job queue in GoAnywhere. So GoAnywhere was structured to let you run multiple jobs concurrently. We have customers literally running thousands of jobs a day through the product. So it has a whole job queue system. They can set up, it's a multi-threaded system, so you can have, you know, many, many jobs running at the same time. You'll be able to assign priorities to those jobs. So if there's certain file transfers that need to get more attention from the CPU than other transfers, you can assign them higher priorities as you need to. Now you can set up operators in GoAnywhere so they could manage those jobs. They'll be able to hold jobs, cancel them, release the jobs, so they can have, you know, make sure those jobs are getting managed properly. Every job's assigned an audit trail. You can choose the level of logging that you'd like to perform. We have 4 different log levels from silent up to debug mode, and you'll be able to search those completed jobs by a lot of criteria, including date and time range and user. And here's just a typical job log. It's a little grainy. You can make it a little bit, but essentially what's important to an auditor is knowing step by step what was performed in every job. So you'll know exactly when it started, what operations were performed, if there's any problems that needs to be reported, and what files were transferred, the IPs that were connected out to. This is all great log information, not only for your auditors, but also for debugging purposes. If you have any problems with the file transfer job, you'll be able to quickly find out what the issue was. Now, we were talking about more kind of like your automated workflows, but for your inbound services, you can let your trading partners come in through a lot of different protocols. We support just your typical FTP, but also you're going to let them come in through SFTP, or they can come in through SCP to do secure copy, FTPS, which would be over SSL, HTTPS, which would be coming in through their browser over SSL, and then AS2, which is applicability statement, which is for more the retail industry for exchanging files. If you do let them come in through their browser, again, that's a very nice approach because they don't have to install anything onto their desktop. You can just point them to a URL. They key that in, they'll log in, and they'll be able to upload, download files through whatever work folders that you've authorized them to. Your trading partners, again, they can be authenticated against a lot of different systems, including Active Directory and LDAP. And when you're setting up the user accounts and their folders, you can give them just certain rights to certain folders. Like you could create an inbound folder for them and only give them upload rights to that folder. For maybe an outbound folder, you can just give them download rights. You could choose that on a per folder basis. It's very granular. You can also set disk quotas. So if you don't want them to overload the system with a lot of files, you could limit them to just a few megabyte or whatever setting you'd like to establish there. Your audit logs are also going to be generated for all inbound services. So you know what trading partners we're connecting, dates and times of those. So we're going to track everything they do from the time they log in to the time they log out, what files were transferred, up or down, if they renamed or deleted files or shared files with others. That's all going to be reported in the database. You'll be able to query that database using a lot of different criteria or generate PDF reports to share with management as needed. All right. We've built GoAnywhere so you can have multiple environments. So a lot of companies, a lot of larger companies have a separate production and development environment. We've architected it so you can build your user accounts, your jobs, your schedules, your triggers, and so on in a development instance. And then when you're ready to go live, you'll be able to promote those into your production environment and just let certain authorized users to be able to do that in the product. So it really gives you that control so you're not accidentally making changes in the production environment that could cause issues. And those promotions can happen on a scheduled basis, or you can just manually do the promotions as needed. I talked about the reports a little bit. Here's a quick summary of some of the reports that can be generated in the product. Here's an example of a completed job stat. So maybe by hour you'd like to see what file transfers were getting completed to the system. You could run that by the week, by the month. There's a lot of flexibility there. And again, those can be automatically distributed by email or placed on the network as needed. We also have the security audit report, which is really nice, especially for people that are under strict compliance requirements like PCI or HIPAA. And essentially what it will do is it will analyze the settings in GoAnywhere and determine if you're compliant with the latest standards. And here's just like a quick example. It actually compares the settings in GoAnywhere to the PCI security standards. And so, for instance, maybe you're using an older version of SSL, or perhaps you've turned off some security settings. This is a great report you can run in the product to make sure you're using the most up-to-date security settings available. Because there is a lot of flexibility in GoAnywhere, but and to some regard you might have someone accidentally shut off some more of the secure features. So this is going to verify that everything's configured nice and securely. Now, besides doing your batch transfers, we also have secure mail, which is great if you just need to share a file with somebody quickly using the power of email to do the notification, but the security of HTTPS to actually deliver the file. So with secure mail, your system keeps possession of the files. When your employee goes to generate a secure mail, and they can build those secure mails either through Outlook, so we have a plugin for Outlook, or they can go through the web form to generate the secure mail. And essentially, what we'll do is we'll strip the file attachments, store those on your network in encrypted form, and then we'll send a notice out to your recipient, letting them know that they have a secure mail waiting for them. They could then click on the link to actually then go back to your server to retrieve the files. So again, the files are not stored in the cloud. They'll actually be stored on your facility, which will keep them nice and secure in encrypted form. Here's an example of the web form that they could use to send the secure mail. They would put in the email address, the subject and message. There's several different options here. You could require that they're a registered user, meaning that they would have to have a valid user and password on the system in order to retrieve the secure mail. Or you could just generate a one-time password for that secure mail. Or additionally, we have a very secure link that's sent out. It's made up of a 32-byte token. And so that in itself is very secure. A lot of companies just go with that option so they don't have to require an additional user and password to access the files. And as I mentioned, we have the Outlook plugin. We have this little green button that your users would see from Outlook. They could hit that. When they click that button, we'll strip the file attachment and send out a notice to the recipient with that link. And the recipient will get an email like this, and you can customize that with your corporate logo and privacy policy, and they could just simply click on the link to download the file. Another thing I'd like to mention is that we also have an EFS type solution called GoDrive. It's part of GoAnywhere. If your users need to share files quickly with each other, so it lets them synchronize files. It lets them add comments to files. You can maintain multiple versions of your files. Everything's going to be audited. So it's a great way to replace some of those cloud-based tools like Dropbox or Box, where you don't really know where those files are stored out on the Internet. Again, GoDrive is going to keep your files on your network in encrypted form. They can access those files through the browser, through our sync client. They can install into their desktops. We also have interfaces for Android and iOS as well. We talked a little bit about the gateway. So if you do have folks coming back into your network to access the files, a lot of those companies will put the gateway in that DMZ area, and then that's going to allow you to keep those inbound ports closed into your private network, and it's going to not require that you store any files in that DMZ area. So that's a very important component a lot of companies buy. You can install the gateway onto like a Linux or a Windows server. Now in this scenario, we have 2 copies that go anywhere in the internal network in a clustered environment. So this is a very typical scenario where a company that wants that high availability will have 2 copies that go anywhere. So if one of those systems was to fail, the other systems can continue to process jobs. And the gateway can also act as a load balancer, so they can distribute inbound sessions between 2 or more systems within that clustered environment. All right, we're making good progress here. Just a couple more slides to go with. Oh, kind of going back to the GoDrive, here's just like a quick screen example. If they was to log into the system to upload or download files, again, they could view files. They can share those files. They can send secure mail with links to those files. So it's going to give you a lot of those same capabilities as what you'd get with like a Dropbox or a Box.net. But again, those files are stored on your server. Another nice thing people like about GoDrive is that it's very affordable. We don't charge a subscription for the user. Most companies will charge like $15 a user per month. With GoDrive, you just pay a single fee for that user, and then it's a lifetime license. You just have to pay annual support, which is just like 18% of the product price. So it is a perpetual license, not a subscription-based license to GoDrive. And again, it does have the mobile apps, so you can access your files through like Android, iOS, tablets or phones. Talked a little bit about clustering. So essentially, you can use GoAnywhere not only for your server-to-server batch-oriented transfers, but you can also use it for any kinds of user collaboration, between your individual users, be it between employees or between themselves and their customers and trading partners. The installation requirements, again, GoAnywhere gets installed onto your network, so you could choose, again, which platform to install to, be it Linux, Unix, Windows, IBM, and so on. For instance, let's say you want to put it onto a Windows server. You can download it. We do have a free trial. It's a free 30-day full working trial. Everything I've shown you is available during that trial period. You can install it, work with it. There's lots of help text with the product, all online help-based, fully searchable. There's all kinds of videos, tutorials on how to use the product. Most companies are up and running with the product within just a couple hours and have some transfers already going through the product in that short period of time. We also have support during that evaluation period, so you can call in just like a customer, and we can help you through any kinds of setup issues that you might be having. You can run GoAnywhere in your own cloud environment, so if you are transitioning some of your services into like Amazon or Microsoft Azure, you can run it successfully into those cloud environments as well. All right, and with that, I do like to thank your time. We do have a little time for any kinds of questions that you may have. And but if you would like to download GoAnywhere, you can go to GoAnywhere.com, and there's a download link there. And again, you can download that trial and work with it. So, all right, and again, thank you for your time this morning, and we do appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much, everyone. And like I just said, or Bob just said, you are welcome to ask some questions right now. We'll just stay on for another minute and just see if anyone says anything. You can type them in the text box, or the chat box, excuse me, that's at the bottom of your screen. So go ahead and type in your questions. We'll give it a minute, and then we'll conclude if no one has anything. So type them in while you get a chance. All right, I don't see anything happening, so I guess that will conclude our session. This webinar will be available for download on our YouTube channel after it is complete. And with that, I think that is it.
All right, well, thank you.
Thank you so much, Bob. We appreciate your time, and thank you, everyone, for coming. And I think, yep, that's it. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Okay, take care.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.